లో విలీనోద్యమం ఆగస్టు 7, 1947 హైదరాబాద్ను భారత యూనియన్లో విలీన దినంగా ప్రకటించారు. అయినప్పటికీ నిజాం నవాబు
Hello, good morning, everyone. Sorry for the short delay. There is a technical problem in my laptop. So, as we discussed in yesterday's class, we have a important regional organizations and some of the impact of the globalization process on the international economy and international political system. Today, we are going to discuss about those things, which are some of regional organizations and some of topics covered under globalization process. So if we are going to discuss about this globalization process, the globalization process is important for the developing nations. So there are some effects are there. There is a very important impact on the ongoing developing nations in the society or in the world. So globalization is a concept based to uh, develop the developing nations in the process of the uh, human development. So this concept is attributed by the accelerated flow of goods, people, capital, information, and technical sharing, technical information sharing and energy across borders. And also it is enabled to do technology sharing between the developed and underdeveloped nations. So, however, the concept of this globalization is uh, passed due to recent times like COVID-19 pandemic. That kind of crucial situations will be there to pass this kind of situations. But the globalization process has emerged as a important aspect in the international political system. So it is increased employment. Actually, the concept of globalization is established for the purpose of the development of the all underdeveloped or developing nations. So in the process of this system, uh, sometimes it is actually not processed by the any developed nation, but it is with the help of the international organizations such as United Nations organizations or its organs, some kinds of NGOs, some kinds of MNCs, multinational companies or corporations also there for the this purpose of globalization process. So in this process, they have created employment chances, employment opportunities for the people of needy nations. So in that time, there is a various situations are there in every country, like inequality or discrimination or improper education system. There are several problems are there with the providing of employment for the needy people. But in the process of globalization, many MNCs has came to all over across India and across world also. So many developing nations are invited, like foreign direct investments or many supermarkets or multinational companies to their countries to develop themselves. So in this context, there is a situations are made by those MNCs. So if we observe, the concept of this globalization has been came into the force after the end of the Cold War, means such as after the 1990 period, after the disintegration of the Soviet Union after 1991, the concept has been came into force. So like this system, this process enables to establish a democratic system in the world, and also it is against for the capitalist system too. So it emerged after many victorious nations emerged as modern states or third world nations. The concept has been raised by those nations. So if we look into the process of this globalization process, the globalization is established for the purpose of the human development and also the economic development of the society. So if we observe, there are many situations are there for the establishment of this situation. So there are several regional organizations also there for the implement the process of this globalization process. So if we look into the some kinds of regional organizations like European Union or Asian or Sarc or several group of nations also there. But here, if we discuss about this concept of regional organizations also came into force after the Cold War era. So for the establishment of these regional organizations is purely for the development of all the nations in the field of free trade area, and also social integration and also economic cooperation between the nations. So like that, many countries like emerging superpowers and emerging third world nations are implementing this concept into their economic systems. So if we look into the implementation of this process of globalization, there are many situations are raised by this process. So it is enables to access to goods and services. So as we discussed in yesterday's class, the United Nations organizations and some kinds of regional trade organizations like World Bank or IMF, or some kinds of trade organizations like World Trade Organizations has been established after this situation raised by the nations. So the globalization results to increase the trade and standard of living. Means we have observed there is no tax system, or there is no uh, restrictions over the imports and exports between the regional organizations or between the friendly nations. So they have they have made some agreements to help each other in the field of trade and commerce, or imports and exports, like that. So if we observe, it is resulted, the globalization concept resulted into the process of to improvement of national capital markets becoming increasingly integrated. So every nation wants to develop together with the help of both nations. So some kinds of social justice concept also raised by this concept of the globalization. So many MNCs, many multinational companies investing their investments into the overall world nations. So it promotes, it represents the concept of free trade to promote global economic growth and create employment, and makes companies more competitive and lowers price of consumers. So they have came here. If we take an example of India, there are many multinational companies are there for the establishment of this market system. So they have came here and established their companies and provided many employment opportunities for the people of India, and they have made many products for the use of our national purpose, and also they have made many products at cheaper price to get everyone into their hands. So like that, many multinational companies are established their franchises in our the country. So they also encourage to increase awareness about this concept. So sharing technology and sharing technical support with the nations, or with the mutual cooperation in the basis of mutual development, it also provides poor countries through foreign capital or information technology, and with the chance to develop economically and by spreading prosperity. So the sharing technology and values are with this concept has been established in the period of this time. So if we decline the process of globalization, there will be some problems will be raised by the developing nations. Like the global financial crisis was a turning point. Even sometimes it's happened, but as is stuck at the twin foundations of liberal democracy and free market capitalism, because the process of globalization always opposed to the capitalist mentality. So if the process supports that capitalist mentality, so they always try to become rich over the rich. So their target is only on the profits, so not the improvement of established countries, or not the improvement of any basic of improvements in the where they established their companies or their branches. So that's what this concept raises this situation. So if we take an example of this process, it contributes towards cultural homogeneity. So globalization promotes people's tastes to converge, which may lead to more cultural homogeneity. So due to this, there is a danger of losing precious cultural practices and languages. So as we discussed during the colonial period, they implemented their imperialistic ideology over their colonies. So this situation also, if existing world, so they may overlap the original cultural systems or original cultural habits in the country, they may overlap that situation. So also there are threats for the cultural invasion of one country over another. As we discussed, they may influence, they may motivate, or they may forcibly implement their culture and habits or livelihood things into the dependent nations. So if we if we take an example of this concept, actually the globalization process is came to restrict the dominant countries over the dependent countries. So given its enormous potential for economic gains, it would be a waste of categorically repudiate the phenomena of globalization. Instead, there is a need for better understanding of globalization effect and the interplay of its economic with other issue areas. So if we discuss about this thing into the regional organizations, over the concept of many regional organizations are established for the implementation of this kind of situations over the world. If we take an example of World Trade Organization, it is established for the issue of long trade related issues among all the nations like India, USA, or USA, China, or any between trade relations between the entire world. So actually trade relations will be depending upon mutual cooperation. So it is a very important topic for our international relations, in contemporary international relations. In this concept, we are going to discuss about World Trade Organization structure, objectives, and some kinds of agreements and goals of the concept. World Trade Organization. It is an international organization established in 1995 by replacing GATT. GATT means General Agreement on Trade and Tariffs under the Marrakesh Agreement. So it is the only global international organization dealing with the international trade between the nations. It is located in Geneva, which is placed in Switzerland. Currently, this WTO has 164 member states, and also India is one of the founding member of this World Trade Organization. So the concept, the World Trade Organization is established after the which situations are demanded for the establishment of this concept. After establishment of UNO, after the end of World War II, various international organizations were formed to facilitate collaboration between countries in dealing with economic, social, and technical problems between the nations. So as we discussed, after 1945 establishment of UNO, there is a conference held already, as we discussed in the previous class, that is Bretton Woods Conference, which established two international organization for this purpose, like International Monetary Fund and World Bank was held for the creation of International Trade Organization, which finally would not be ratified due to lack of approval by the United States and many other major countries. So already we discussed that developed nations and permanent members in the United Nations organization, they are not supporting, they are not accepting the proposal of development of developing nations. So they wanted to always depend upon them. So every poor country, they wanted every poor country will be depend upon those developed nations. So as the United States of America as emerging as world power after World War II, hence the creation of International Trade Organization without the United States was meaningless, because the United States of America is influencing and funding more than other countries to the international organizations such as this International Trade Organization and United Nations organizations. So meanwhile, through negotiations and multilateral agreement was concluded in 1947, known as the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade. So this concept is established for the purpose of mutual trade, international trade, free trade system in the international politics. So India has been a member of even GATT since 1948 and also a founding member of WTO. Even China joined in WTO in 2001 and Russia joined in 2012. So as we discussed, this both two superpowers are not supporting developing nations or third world nations. So to become more powerful in the world. So if they support, they will lose their money. So like that, this World Trade Organization has some objectives like to formulate or implement rules of international trade. As we discussed, there is a no restrictions over the international trade system. So the WTO is established for the purpose of free trade world. So like that, many international organizations like this World Trade Organizations are the platform for the settlement of disputes. Means disputes means already we have discussed about United Nations organization. It is established for the purpose of peace between peacemaking between the international corridor. So the UNO is established for the purpose of to reduce disputes between the nations. Here, World Trade Organization is also established for the settlement of disputes between the international trade system. It is only for the trade disputes established for the trade disputes. So, and also it is a platform for the negotiating and monitoring further trade liberalization. So, as we discussed, many regional organizations later established for the same purpose, free trade system. So, this organization also providing assistance to the developing nations and least developed nations and low-income countries in the world. So later that WTO has made some rules and disciplines through technical cooperation and training. So it is purely established for the purpose of development of very low-income countries and least developed countries and ongoing developing nations also. So sometimes to cooperate with other major economic institutions like United Nations, World Bank, International Monetary Fund, etc. Many organizations are there and also involved in global economic management. So if we observe the basic structure of World Trade Organization is it has a topmost decision making of World Trade Organization is in the hands of ministerial conference. Usually it meets after every 2 years. It brings together all World Trade Organization participants. So the General Council is there and it is imposed to the representative of all the members of its organizations. It is responsible for the day-to-day business and management of the World Trade Organizations. And also it is having some different councils and different organs of these councils like Goods Council, Service Council, and Trade Policy Review Body, and Dispute Settlement Body, etc., which deals with other specific issues like trade system or trade disputes between the member states. So as per the principles of World Trade Organizations is especially focused on the non-discrimination. Non-discrimination means every nation wants to develop themselves with the support of other nations. So at that time, no one should discriminate other nations like as we discussed, developed nations always discriminating the poor countries or developing countries or low income countries. So the WTO is there for to reduce this discrimination, to remove the concept of discrimination among the member states, and also all the nations should be treated equally. So there need not be discrimination over the member states. So as we discussed, the WTO is established for the purpose of this concept. So and also no one country can grant any other member any special favor. For example, if one country lower tariff to one country, then it has to be lower to all other member countries. So everyone stood for the one concept, like everyone should follow the rules of World Trade Organizations. And also it is stood for the concept of reciprocity. So reciprocity means the in the concept of trade concept, lowering of import duties or other trade barriers in return for similar concessions from another country means there is no mutual benefit. So without expecting benefit from other country, the country should help to other nations. So that's called reciprocity. So without expecting anything or without expecting any returns from the other nations, they may help to other nations. So that is the concept of reciprocity. So predictability through binding and enforceable commitments to make the business environment stable and predictable. So WTO is there for the stable environment for the trade operations. So the WTO members need to publish their trade regulations and to notify changes in trade policies to the WTO. So they have to maintain transparency. They have to maintain transparency in their trade operations, and they should inform to the World Trade Organizations in the process of their trade operations. So there are many international agreements have been made by the World Trade Organizations, like agreement on agriculture, agreement on TRIPS, like trade related aspects of intellectual property rights. Like now, if we take an example, like we have patent rights. If any company is ready to prepare a product, and after the preparation of product, they will get property rights like patent rights. So no one should be that product. So if any other want to make that product, they have to buy the patent rights from the original owner. So like that, there is TRIPS, like trade related aspects of intellectual property rights also there. This is purely established by the World Trade Organization. So some agreements are made on the concept of technical barriers on trade, some agreements made on trade related investment measures, and also general agreement on trade and services. Many agreements has been made for the easier way to participate the trade relations between the nations in the world. So if we observe, there is improving measurements for the purpose of participation of all the member states in the trade activities. If we observe what is the India role with the World Trade Organization. So as we discussed, India is the primary founding member of this organization. So WTO has been created for the purpose. Actually, we are the founding member of the World Trade Organization. So recently, United States of America has imposed 10% tariff on aluminum and 25% on steel against various trade partners. So here our role is, India wants to, it should be removed, or it will raise the issue with the WTO. So if there is any disputes or any overriding rules over the World Trade Organizations, every member state should inform the World Trade Organization. So some countries may impose subsidies over the trade issues, and they may impose subsidies over the agriculture products or subsidies over the other electronic goods or electric goods. So if we observe, India has been playing a major role in this organization. So in the process of globalization, in the process of development, India is actively participating in the World Trade Organizations. So if we take the discussion about regional organizations also established for the purpose of economic relations and economic cooperation between the member states. So if we discuss about the Sarc is established for the purpose of this free trade and social integration and political cooperation between member states. Sarc means South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation. So it is established with the signing of the Sarc Charter in Dhaka, 8th December 1985. So the idea of this regional cooperation in South Asia was first raised in November 1980. After consultation, after many discussions were made, after the meetings of foreign secretaries of 7 founding members, which are Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Maldives, Nepal, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka, made for the first time Colombo in April 1981. So Afghanistan also become a new member in Sarc summit after the 13th annual summit of Sarc in 2005. So the headquarters of secretariat of this association is placed in Kathmandu, which is the capital city of Nepal. So this Sarc has now 8 members for this organization. So if we discuss about the principles of South Asian Association for the regional cooperation, there are the association is stood for the purpose of respect for the principles of sovereign equality, territorial integrity, political independence, non-interference. Means already we have discussed. After the becoming modern state system, everyone stand for the mutual respect on their sovereign power. So no one should interference into the other nation's sovereignty. Like that, these organizations also stood for the this concept. So everyone should respect their sovereign equality. Everyone should respect territorial integrity. Everyone should respect for the political independence of the member states. So in the internal affairs or other states or mutual benefit, no one should enter into the other nations' internal affairs. So such cooperation shall not be substitute for bilateral and multilateral cooperation, but shall complement them. So in the process of bilateral relations or multilateral relations, everyone should stand for the mutual cooperation. So such cooperation shall not be inconsistent with bilateral or multilateral obligations. So if we discuss about Sarc members, already we discussed there are 8 members. Just if we look into this, Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Maldives, Nepal, Pakistan, Sri Lanka are the members of this organization. So if we observe what are the areas covered by this organization, the Sarc is focused on the main areas of human resource development and tourism, and agriculture and rural development, environment, natural disasters and biotechnology, economic, trade and commerce or finance or social affairs, information and poverty alleviation, energy, transport, science and technology. These areas, and also it focuses on education, security and culture and others. Many things has been focused by the this organization. So if we observe some kinds of objectives are there by these organizations to promote the welfare of the people of South Asia and improve their quality of life. The Sarc is established for this purpose. So to accelerate economic growth, to promote strengthen collective self-reliance, and to contribute mutual trust, to promote active collaboration and mutual assistance in the fields of economic, social, cultural, technical, and scientific fields. And also it is stood for to strengthen cooperation between the other developing countries also. So it is focused in member states, and also it is supporting the other developing countries like these member states. So to strengthen cooperation among themselves in international forums on matters of common interests, and also it is established to cooperate with international and regional organizations with similar aims and purpose. As we discussed, UNO established for the purpose of international peace and security. It is also stand by the principle of UNO. Many regional organizations also established and following the each other's goals and aims at the time of their establishment. So if we discuss about many internal organizations are there, like in this organization, every meeting, actually meetings will be conducted by the secretariat of this organization. Meetings are held at the summit level, usually on the annual basis. So every year, the members of these organizations will meet at one place. So actually, the foreign secretaries of the every member state will attend the meeting. So there are several organizations like the Sarc Development Fund is there. Its primary objective is funding of project-based collaboration in social sectors such as poverty alleviation and development. So this SDF is governed by a board consisting the representatives from the Ministry of Finance and member states. So many organizations like this established under these organizations to promote their goals and objectives of the organization. So if we observe such achievements are made by these organizations like free trade area, Sarc is comparatively new organizations in the global arena. So the member countries have established a free trade area, as we discussed. Actually, regional corporations are such as international organizations are there for the free trade area to develop member states. So which will increase their internal trade and lessen the trade gap of some states considerably. There are some agreements are there like South Asia preferential trading agreement for promoting trade amongst the member countries came into force in 1995. So there are free trade agreements are there to confining to goods, but excluding all services like information technology. They are created many agreements so for the purpose of economic development and free trade system in the member states, and also they are stand for the support of international organizations. So if we discuss about the relations between the India and Sarc, we are also founding member of these organizations. We are there for the actively participating these operations of Sarc. So we are primarily we focused on a neighborhood first. So primacy to the country's immediate neighbors we are supporting, and we are having relations between our neighbors like India, Pakistan and India, Bangladesh or Indo-Nepal, Indo-China, India, Sri Lanka, like that. We are having relations between our neighbors in friendly manner. Some sorts of disputes are there in the fields of territorial border disputes or water disputes are there in the fields of external affairs. So we are having global leadership role in the organizations, and also Sarc can help the creation of mutual trust and peace within the region. So we are there, and we are also following the rules and regulations of Sarc. So there are many challenges are there on this establishment of regional organizations. So there are not actively participating in the conducting meetings, annual meetings, like low frequency of meetings is there and a broad area of cooperation. So it is focused only its member states, but it is supporting but not actively supporting all the nations in the world, and there are limitations are there. And also sometimes it is being neutral in the fields of disputes raised by the member states. Like if we take an example of Indo-Pak relations, escalated tension and conflict between India and Pakistan have severely hampered the prospects of Sarc. So if we take Sarc as an organization reflects the South Asian identity of the countries. So historically and contemporarily, this is a organizations for regional level only. This is a naturally made geographical identity. Equally, there is a cultural, linguistic, religious, and culinary affinity that defines South Asia. So the Sarc should be allowed to progress naturally in the people of South Asia. So its focus only on the regions of South Asia only, who make up the quarter of world's population, should be offered more people to people contact. So as we discussed, a region actually, here we have to discuss about China. In a region increasingly targeted by Chinese investment and loans, Sarc could be a common platform for the demand more sustainable alternatives for development. So, to oppose trade tariffs together or to demand better terms in such Asian labor around the world. This is the concept of Sarc as we have syllabus. So, next, one of the important regional organizations in our syllabus is ASEAN. ASEAN means Association of South Asian Nations. It is also same established for the purpose of same economical relations between the member states and a free trade system, and also it is established for the purpose of political cooperation too. So the Association of Southeast Nations, Southeast Asian Nations are called it as ASEAN, was established in 1967 with the signing of the Asian Declaration, which we called as Bangkok Declaration. So India's relationship with this ASEAN has evolved from the Lookist policy in 1991 and Actist policy in 2014, which led India to become a sectoral partner of ASEAN in 1992. So, and also we have become a dialogue member in 1996 and a summit level partner in 2002 and a strategic partner in 2012. If we discuss about this background of these organizations, the Fourth Asian Defense Ministers Plus was organized in Philippines. India attended the 31st Asian Summit and 25th Asian Summit Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership Leaders Meetings and Asian Business and Investment Summit in Philippines. So, as we discussed, India's relationship with these organizations is based on an agreement between the member states. Like India and ASEAN agreed to increase cooperation in combating extremism and other transnational crimes such as human trafficking, illicit drug trafficking, cyber crime, and piracy. So we are there on the stance of these Asian organizations. We strengthen ASEAN-India economic relations by effectively implementing the ASEAN-Indian Free Trade Area and intensifying efforts towards creating this concept. So ASEAN and India also agreed to cooperate for the conservation of marine resources in the aviation and maritime transport sectors, promote growth of micro, small, and medium enterprises, and deepen relationship in science and technological exchange. So, as we discussed, every member states of any organizations like international organization or regional organizations should stand on the concept of this mutual exchange of knowledge, exchange of relations between the member states. So the declaration of this ASEAN calls for the early competition of India, Myanmar, Thailand, trilateral highway project, and further extended to Cambodia, Laos, and Vietnam. So in this concept of these organizations is there for the mutual relationship between the member states. So as we discussed, the ASEAN is established for the purpose of regional cooperation between the member states. So there are many challenges are there, and also the concept has been prepared by the member states, and there are many challenges are there in the implementation of these organizations. Many disputes are not solved by this conversation. So many member states like India, many of member states are not having proper rights in the participation of this regional organization. So as we discussed, ASEAN is having funding from the major countries in its own members, and also there is a challenges and concerns are there in the front side of this organization with trade with ASEAN, and India ranks lower than not just the United States and China, but also South Korea, Japan, and Australia. In comparison to China, ASEAN trade value reached in 2016. So negotiations has been made by these organizations in the process of international cooperation between the member states, and also connectivity made between the Asian and India, as well as India's connectivity through the northeast to Myanmar and beyond the lagging behind. So work on the extension of India, Myanmar, Thailand. There is made a trilateral highway for the purpose of international trade system between the member states. So there are made some kinds of border trade posts also there, and they made a free trade system among the member states. So India needs to do more convincing job as a beneficial strategic partner of ASEAN. So it has to boost the domestic economic reforms agenda and enhance connectivity within the region. So to increase its presence and regional institutions, like many organizations are there, many organs are there in the process, in the progress of these working conditions of ASEAN. The Asian countries have always looked up India for attaining a balance of power against China. So however, India has not been able to live up with their expectations. So in the process of this globalization process, many regional organizations are there and established for the purpose of mutual cooperation between the member states. So as we discussed in our syllabus, we have many organizations and many multinational organizations also there. So multinational, if we discuss about the multinational organizations, there is a concept behind in it. So the national corporations are established for the purpose of their own growth, and also for the purpose of where the multinational companies are established for the development of the dependent country. If we discuss about this concept, there are many corporate organizations are there for the purpose of international relations. So many MNCs are established. They have came under the process of trade system only. So these companies operate worldwide. Multinational companies means they are actually they operate their operations more than two countries. Like they are having head office in their own country and operate, and they are having franchises or branches in other countries. So MNCs, if we define about MNC is a corporate organizations that operate in more than one country other than home country. So multinational companies have central head office in home country and secondary offices or facilities, factories, industries, and other such assets in other countries. So this actually these companies operate worldwide and hence also known as global enterprises. So the activities are controlled and operated by the parent company worldwide. So products and services of MNCs are sold around various countries which require global management. So actually the MNCs are earning more than other organizations, like high turnover and many assets. Aggressive marketing are some of the features of MNCs. So like if we take an examples of MNCs like TCS, Tech Mahindra, Deloitte, many MNCs are there in India. So let's understand the features and advantages of multinational companies in detail. If we discuss about this MNC's name in itself pretty self-explanatory. It is a company or corporation that operates in many countries. So it has business activity in more than one country at given time. So if we discuss about the features of a MNC is a high turnover and many assets and control. It is having unity of control. So if we take an example, it is having the head office in one country and operates many countries. So the business operations in the host country have their own management offices, but the ultimate control will still remain at the head office. So the head office in India they may reflect their activities or production management in other countries. The final decision is under the control of head office, like which is located in the home state. So it is managed by the highly professionals. So any MNC is run by very competent and capable individuals. They have suitable managers to take care of their business management, their business operations, so technology, finances, and expansions, etc. So they are recruiting very talented professionals, which are having more experience and more knowledge in the fields of organizations. So they are focusing, they are maintaining a aggressive marketing in the fields of this multinational corporations. So many organizations are there and many advantages of this with the MNCs. If some kinds of merits are there, like one of the main advantage of this host country is the MNCs boost their economic growth. They bring with the huge investments and capital. So a multinational corporation helps the technological growth of the country as well. They bring new innovations and technological advancement to the host country. They help modernize the industry in developing countries. So multinational corporations also promote maximize utilization of the country's resources. This is in turn leads to economic development. So MNCs make their home countries very rich by their revenues. So the corporation will collect fees, royalties, profits, charges from all other their host countries to bring them back to the home country. So this huge inflow of foreign exchange is very beneficial to the home country. So actually the concept of multinational corporation is there for the development of the this to promote bilateral trade relations between the countries, and also this is beneficial for the both of the countries and the global market and economy. So the multinational companies are established for the purpose of this concept. So and also one important concept is there in the this multinational corporations is what we call it as social responsibility, revenue or social responsibility. The concept is came after the globalization concept raised by the United Nations organization. So the social responsibility concept means actually if we take an example of industry is established in one country, so the organization has to participate to promote social activities such as development of basic facilities in their hosting place, or making a awareness programs on the several problems in their hosting area. So if we observe many multinational companies, multinational organizations are there and accepting the needs of the needy place. So if we take an example, the a company is established in Hyderabad. So the company is has to participate in this concept. Means the company has to maintain the corporate social responsibility. Means the company has to pay minimum, has to establish basic facilities for the this established area. So if we take an example of any organization established in Hyderabad, they have to select that area and they have to provide basic basic necessities for the people who are living in that area. So they are providing better health conditions, or they are conducting health camps, they are preparing many things for the development of the concerned area. So in recent times, the corporate social responsibility, the concept is focusing on rural areas, and the concept is reaching to the rural uh, areas. So they are focusing not metro cities, they are focusing on rural areas to promote the better education, better employment positions, and better opportunities in the fields of education, in the fields of health facilities. So they are promoting health awareness camps, and they are conducting health awareness programs in the rural areas in the forms of this, in the concept of this social uh, uh, responsibility program. So every MNC has to maintain this concept. So that's what MNCs are maintaining. They are earning more income from the located area. That's why they have to spend at least some of amount to the development of their native of that established company. So many programs are conducted by the MNCs to eradicating extreme hunger and poverty, or promoting education, and also it is stands for the gender equality and empowering women. So it is highly recommending empowerment of women who are living in the rural areas and who are living in the even metropolitan areas. So combating human immunodeficiency virus, like it is spending more money on the diseases like HIV, AIDS, or many diseases which are raised by present situations. It is contributing some kinds of funds and some kinds of arrangements for the located areas hospitals. So sometimes MNC is also contributing chief minister's relief fund, or prime minister's relief funds are there for the need of national disasters, like that they are funding. So in the name of corporate social responsibility, many companies, many MNCs are funding the uh, governments to the development of needy people. So this is the concepts which are placed on our syllabus. Is there any doubts or queries? You can ask me.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, could you please explain the reciprocity meaning?
Reciprocity means the concept is actually, if a nation wants to export their excess products to any needy nation, they should not expect to return from the needy nations. That's called reciprocity. So there is no return expect from the other state.
Okay, sir. Sir, what is mean by WTO, sir?
World Trade Organization.
Okay, sir. Can you explain a few words about that?
Already we have discussed, WTO is established for the purpose of international trade system, free trade
Okay.
system.
Okay, sir.
Hello.
Okay.
Hello.
Yes, yes.
Sir, you said that about this League of Nations, no? Can you tell me
Mm-hmm.
where is that?
Hello?
Yes, League of.
Voice is
Hello.
not coming, sir.
Hello.
Hello?
Yes, sir. Can you listen now?
Yes, yes. Tell me.
I'm
Ask your doubt.
League of Nations located.
League of Nations headquarter. Hello?
Yes, where it is located?
League of Nations, actually it is located in the area of European country called Switzerland, I think. I will.
Okay. So it is in Switzerland, right?
Yes.
So how is the people are elected to that particular thing? What is the way?
Means actually it is established in the time of after the World War One, right? So
Okay.
the members means actually it is dominated by the successor of World War One. So if anyone wants to join in that organizations, the successor state has to accept the proposal of the member state. So without their support, no one can join that organization. That's what it is failed and replaced with United Nations organization.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, can you tell the year of League of Nations, sir?
League of Nations establishment year
Yes, sir.
1920 January 10.
Okay, sir. Sir, UNO?
UNO 1945 October 24.
Okay, sir.
UNO
Or
replaced
not?
this League of Nations. After the enactment and implementation of UNO, the League of Nations has been dismissed in
Sir, hello.
working
League of
condition. Yes.
Hello. India
Tell
can be a
me.
member of League of Nations or not?
Who?
India.
No, we are not in member in that organization.
Okay.
It is purely because at that time in World War One we are not actively participated or not supported any nation in the World War One.
What
After
is the
that,
reason?
in world,
What is
we
the
are
reason?
not aware of that World War One because
Okay.
it is.
We are not
And
having
sir, British
independence now for World
British.
War One. Separate country.
Hello.
We are not
Hello.
having separate
Hello.
country.
Yes.
Sir, British colonial rule and colonial rule is same, right?
Yes. Colonial rule means any dominant countries rule over a dependent nation. So
the
there are
example
colonies
can be,
before World War II.
so the example can be taken as British.
Example is yes, British is the colonial power. British is having colonial power. We are under their colonial rule. So India is a colony under the British colonial rule. So like that, many countries, even British also under the United States of America also under the control of this Britishers, Britain Crown. After 1776 only, United States of America also become an independent nation from
but now
their colonial rule.
we are separated, right, sir? Now we are separated from British colonial rule.
Yes.
Hello.
After the enactment of our Indian Constitution, there is no influence of British Crown, British Queen's influence over the India. After the implementation of the Constitution of India. So we are independent and we become a sovereign state in the world. Okay, I am concluding the session. Tomorrow we will meet again.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for the